Familial Adenomatous Polyposis, or FAP, is an autosomal dominant disorder characterized by the development of thousands of adenomatous polyps in the colon. In this video, I'll be giving you my visual mnemonic to help you remember the cause, signs, and subtypes of FAP for you to remember on test day. It's a hot summer day in this hipster San Francisco neighborhood. It's a perfect time for a cold treat at this ice cream truck? Nope. This is a FAP truck selling some nice cold FAPs. Fraps. FAP does sound like FAP, right? Like FAP or FAP for Familial Adenomatous Polyposis. Let's look around our FAP truck to learn more about this condition. Let's talk about this big truck for the FAPs. You know how food trucks are all sold out of these huge vehicles? I guess you could call them dominant autos for autosomal dominant. Get it? Yep, the mutation for Familial Adenomatous Polyposis, or FAP, is inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern. Here's a memory tip. Disorders with familial in the name are frequently autosomal dominant. Why else would they be observed through entire families? Just remember our big food truck selling FAPs to peg the autosomal dominant inheritance pattern in FAP. You know what goes really well on top of a FAP? Honey, fresh from the hive. Yeah, take a look at that hive-like container full of honey for the FAPs. By the way, this hive rhymes with the number 5, which helps me remember that FAP is caused by a mutation on chromosome 5. Technically, the most common mutation leading to FAP is a deletion of 5q21. Just remember this hive to peg the number 5 for test day. So what gene is actually affected by this deletion on chromosome 5? To find out, check out my drink in the foreground here. Yep, all that chromosome hive. 5, honey, is topping that FAP truck's latest summer drink, the apricot FAP. See that apricot slice on top? This apricot is our symbol for APC, the tumor suppressor gene affected in FAP. Yeah, remember the chromosome 5q21 deletion from earlier? That deletion includes the APC gene, which is a tumor suppressor gene. Most people with FAP inherit one mutated allele of the APC gene. To understand why this matters, we have to talk about the two-hit hypothesis. The two-hit hypothesis describes how people with one inherited germline mutation in a tumor suppressor gene like APC makes them more likely to develop cancer. Unaffected people like you and I start out life with 2 copies of this APC gene. You know, one from mom and one from dad. Contrastingly, patients with FAP only start out with 1, since the other one was already mutated, right? This mutation is an inherited germline mutation, meaning that it's present in all their cells. Patients with FAP then only need 1 random mutation in their only normal allele to completely lose all APC gene function in that cell. On the other hand, people born with 2 normal alleles have a lower chance of losing their APC gene because they would need to get 2 mutations within 1 cell. In short, patients with FAP have a much higher likelihood of completely losing all APC gene function. And losing a tumor suppressor gene like APC leads to, you guessed it, tumors. To symbolize the tumors that develop in FAP, check out this barista squeezing all these dots of icing on the FAPs. That looks like a few too many dots. They're also kind of pink too, kind of like colon polyps. These icing dots on our FAP represent the thousands of adenomatous polyps that develop in the colon of people with FAP. Without a functional APC tumor suppressor gene, people with FAP develop thousands of these colon polyps after puberty. Next, notice how that pastry tube the barista is using for the icing looks pretty lumpy. Yeah, those lumpy pouches make the tube resemble house straw in the colon. This is a reminder that FAP is pancolonic, meaning that it affects the entire colon, especially the rectum. This bit about the rectum always being involved is high yield. You can just remember this end of the pastry tube where all these polyp-like icing dots are formed to peg the rectum, which sits at the end of the colon. Pretty easy, right? So what exactly does this mean for patients anyways? Well, patients diagnosed with FAP typically get a protocolectomy, or a total colon removal, in early adulthood to prevent advancement to colon cancer. Each and every patient with FAP will develop colon cancer unless they get their colons removed. Since having a colon is good for quality of life, many clinicians delay the procedure until a patient reaches their early 20s, at which point the risk of cancer outweighs the benefit of keeping the colon. The optimal age to get the surgery done is a big research topic and well beyond the scope of step 1. For now, just remember that patients need to get their colons out to prevent the development of colon cancer. All right, now we've covered the basics of FAP. Unless you're aiming for that 270, you can skip on ahead to the recap at the end. However, for those of you out there going for the big derm or ortho residencies, here's a lower yield section on subtypes of FAP. First, check out this gardener holding a FRAP. This is San Francisco after all. Of course, we have a community garden here. Let this gardener remind you of Gardner syndrome, a subtype of FAP. Gardner for Gardner syndrome, get it? Gardner syndrome is a subtype of FAP that presents with several other findings in addition to the typical colonic polyps. Let's talk about what these other findings are. Take a look at this trellis the gardener is using. Yeah, this trellis looks kind of bony, almost like a skeleton. Gardner syndrome, in addition to the colonic polyps of FAP, presents with osseous tumors. Osteomas of the skull are the most common osseous tumor in Gardner syndrome patients, but you should really just remember bone tumors. Next, take a look at these soft, fuzzy-looking plants in our garden. I love these plants with the soft, fuzzy leaves, don't you? These soft plants should also remind you that Gardner syndrome presents with soft tissue tumors, including thyroid cancer, epidermoid cysts, fibromas, as well as desmoid tumors. Soft plants for soft tissue, get it? Finally, check out how our soft, fuzzy plants are sprouting some big orange flowers. This orange flower with the big black spot is our symbol for congenital hypertrophy of retinal pigment epithelium. Fundoscopy in patients with Gardner syndrome can show a dark pigmented lesion with a halo that looks like this picture. This picture kind of looks like our orange flowers with their black centers, right? Just remember this picture to peg the retina findings in FAP. Finally, look at the garden rake our gardener is using. It's kind of toothy looking, wouldn't you say? The teeth of this rake is here to help you remember the supernumerary or impacted teeth in people with Gardner syndrome. Those are some really impressive teeth in that rake, right? All right, now let's turn back to our hipster barista to cover the other subtype of FAP. Yeah, this girl's pretty cool. She's sporting a colorful turban wrapped tightly around her head. By the way, this turban is our symbol for Turco syndrome. Turban for Turco, right? Turco syndrome is a subtype of FAP that presents with malignant brain tumors, such as medulloblastomas or gliomas. Let that turban wrapped around the head remind you of tumors in the CNS. Whew, that's it for FAP. Now time for a recap, so I can finish this wrap and get back to tending my garden. Familial Adenomatous polyposis is an autosomal dominant disorder leading to the development of thousands of colonic polyps. Patients with FAP inherit a dysfunctional or mutated copy of the APC gene, which is located on chromosome 5. The loss of their other working copy of APC leads to the development of thousands of adenomatous polyps in the colon. The polyps involve the entire colon, especially the rectum. Because 100% of cases progress to colon cancer, people with FAP need a prophylactic colectomy in early adulthood to prevent the development of cancer. Subtypes of FAP include Gardner syndrome and Turco syndrome. In addition to the typical colonic polyps, patients with Gardner syndrome develop osseous and soft tissue tumors, congenital hypertrophy of retinal pigment epithelium, and impacted supernumerary teeth. Finally, Turcot syndrome is another subtype of FAP that presents with brain tumors. And with that, let's finish up our fraps and get out of the sun. I'll see you next time.